Next, we'll create the state, action, and reducer. Let's go to the product folder and create a product state class in product state.dart. Product state will have different status on API calls. We'll manage the status indicator by creating the status enum mentioned earlier. If there is a separate status indicator like such, there are many advantages because the status of the state can be clearly known. We'll manage this status by creating an enum called product status. The product status enum has initial, loading, success, and failure members. Product state consists of product status, which tells the status of the current product state, product list, and finally, string type error. The app we'll create later has more sophisticated error handling. For now, simply create an error variable of a string type and handle the error simply. So, create a product status type final variable product status, product list type final variable product, and string type final variable error. Next, using the .data class generate extension, create a constructor, apply the equatable, create a toString, and create a copy with. Modify constructor to be a const constructor. In addition, we will create a factory constructor called product state.initial to use as an initial state. I will give product status.initial as the status, empty list as a product, and give error as the empty string. Next, let's look at the actions related to product state. First, there may be an action that reads product list information from fake store API. Are there any other actions I need related to product state? There seems to be none. Let's call this action getProduct action. If this action is a synchronous action, it does not involve a series of processes such as waiting for the result or receiving an error instead of the result. In other words, the getProduct action itself completes the action. However, in the case of async action, when one action is dispatched, several events occur continuously. Trigger getProduct action when the user presses the button or when the page loads. Then getProduct action requests the product list from fake store API, a remote API. However, this request can take some time to process, so you need to take action to show the user that something is going on. In other words, you need to be able to display something like a loading indicator. If the getProduct action is successful, the product list has been successfully fetched and the change should be reflected in the product state. That is, we need to trigger a new action so that the reducer can compute a new state. Then the UI reflects the change in state and shows the user a new product list. If the getProduct action fails, you need to show the user that something is wrong. That is, by triggering a new action, the reducer must reflect in the state that something is wrong. Then the UI reflects the state change and displays an error. Here, getProduct action is an action triggered by the user, but getProduct succeeded action and getProduct failed action are actions that are triggered internally in the middleware. And since the reducer has to be a pure function, I mentioned earlier that this async operation must be executed through a middleware. In other words, the middleware is responsible for passing only the actions necessary to compute the state to the reducer. From now on, we'll outline the actions required to get the product list in detail. A series of consecutive actions must occur to fetch a product list. And the first action that signals the start of these actions is called getProduct action. getProduct action is a kind of a signal that indicates that we will start fetching data from now on. For reference, when this action starts, the UI needs an indicator to indicate that something has started, right? So when the reducer receives this action, it needs to change the state. After checking that the action is getProduct action, the middleware makes a request to fake store API and waits to receive the result. If the product list is read successfully, the middleware dispatches a new action called getProduct succeeded action with the product list as an argument to the reducer. That way, we can compute the new product state, right? Declare product over product list type and create constructor and toString using .data class generate extension. However, trying to get the product list may fail. In that case, the middleware dispatches a new action called getProductsFailedAction that has an error as a reason for failure as an argument. Declare an error of a string type and create a constructor and toString using the .data class generate extension. We'll create a reducer and middleware that handles these three actions: getProductAction, getProductSucceededAction, and getProductFailedAction.